prime recruiting period. And the Oregon Ducks, Dan Lanning and the Oregon Ducks are putting quite a few ducks up on Twitter.
Yeah, they have been. And this weekend was huge for them. 4 big commits came in over the weekend, including Dorian Brew, corner, 4-star corner out of Texas. You got the also a commitment from the tight end out of Kansas, Deshaun Brame, over the weekend, and then 2 other 4-stars that popped in over this weekend. Josiah Sharma out of Folsom, defensive lineman, 6'5", 295. I can't believe some of these high school kids are built like absolute tanks right now. And then Jordan Davis out of Mater Dei, the running back. 4-star recruits coming in for Oregon, and it's bumped up whether you look at On3, where they have Oregon as the number 3 recruiting class in the country right now, or the 24/7 composite has them as the 5th best recruiting class in the country. What Dan Lanning has been able to do is ride this kind of wave of momentum and is capitalize on it left and right. And they are still behind, whether it's Ohio State, which continues to just crush it on the recruiting trail, though Oregon picked up a small victory over the weekend. Georgia, Alabama, those are going to be the powers, right?
Yep.
But the reality of what we've seen kind of Dan Lanning do over, his 3rd recruiting cycle is you're seeing that continual climb upwards.
But what has he done, Dusty?
What has he done? Boy, that one is an interesting one, because that seems to kind of be the backlash that we're seeing now from a lot of fans. And look, his 2nd season, winning a Fiesta Bowl and 6 points away. Those 2 losses to Washington were crippling, and their only 2 losses of the year were to a team that played for a national title last year and saw basically their entire offense get drafted into the NFL draft. Pretty damn good. But people get way too wrapped up in recruiting, because there is a hit and a whiff rate that goes back and forth, right? But when you start stacking recruiting classes like Oregon has, that momentum and that wave of good publicity on the recruiting trail, it does pay off. And look, they have maximized all of the assets that are in front of them. There's no secret, right? They used Nike, the uniforms, the branding to push forward. And now in the age of NIL, they are maximizing everything that they have in the NIL realm too. And that helps in recruiting. But I have said this time and time again, that to say that NIL is the end-all be-all in recruiting is just wrong. Because when you go head-to-head with programs, they all have NIL money at their disposal, right?
Yeah.
Every single one of them. And it does. It takes a shot at what this staff has been able to do from a relationship standpoint and a talent evaluation standpoint, to where they're starting to win these battles that they weren't winning before. NIL gets you in the door, and it can help you close. No doubt about it. But
it's the rails. It's not what you're built on.
Yes. And now if you're talking about like NIL in the factor that it plays between an Oregon and an Oregon State, hell yeah. It's a massive gap. But when you're talking about when you are going up against the top level recruits, NIL is not the end all be all that a lot of fans seem to think it is. I was reading an article today on Trojans Wire, the USC article or site, right? And they kind of laid it out that with what Oregon has been able to do on the recruiting trail, the other 3 West Coast teams in the Big Ten, so Washington, USC, and UCLA, have combined for 10 4- or 5-star recruits for their class of 2025. This weekend, Oregon picked up their 12th.
Yeah, and then the hit to that is USC lost 3 over the weekend as Georgia came in and said, we have NIL too.
And that's the thing, is that you holding on to guys also.
That's
this
probably tougher.
This wave of like commits that come in, they could go away just as quickly as they came in. And so I think what you look at from a aspect of the fact that the recruiting has taken this massive leap forward, that is great for Oregon. But what they've been able to do to backfill the roster in the portal, the fact that they have held on to a lot of their pieces in coming the departures through the transfer portal, everything has been trending in the right direction for Oregon. And if you are a Ducks fan, it is a great time to be a fan because of all of the optimism that is there. The roster this year is going to be really damn good. They will be. They have a very tough conference that they are playing in, and they will have a lot of games this year that are going to be tough ones. Ohio State is going to be a dogfight. You go to Ann Arbor, Michigan in November. You go to Madison, Wisconsin in November. Those are not going to be easy games by any stretch of the imagination. And it's not like there should be this Oregon's going to go 16-0 and they're going to win a national title this year. But you look at, because there's a lot of variables and a lot of factors, but the steady rise in the backfilling of your roster, that's where recruiting does matter. And this weekend was huge for Oregon, and this week is going to be another massive one. Right now, there's, the number 2 tight end in the country, Lincoln Cure out of Kansas. He is doing his commitment right now. Kind of seems by the recruiting experts that he's a Kansas State lean, but you look down, there are 7 guys that are going to be committing this week alone that Oregon is in the mix for that are those top-tier, high-level recruits. And if they can pull off 1 or 2 of those guys as commits, that's when you really start going, all right, this recruiting class is coming together, and we'll see kind of where they go moving forward. But the fact that you're looking at resources that are available, the staff has done an incredible job of capitalizing on those resources and going head to head with some of the top recruiting teams in the country, which, remember, it wasn't that long ago that, there were coaches on staff saying Oregon is a really tough place to recruit to, and you're not going to win those battles. They're starting to do it now. NIL has helped, absolutely. But staff's relationships, that has been probably the biggest thing that Oregon has seen right now. As Lincoln Cure, the number 2 tight end in the country, just put on Kansas State hat, so he's going to play for the Wildcats. He's going to be staying at home in Kansas.
How timely that was.
Yeah, right there. Just put it on.